Howdy everybody, Sci-Fi here, and today we are going to be previewing Chrono-Ranger for the Disparation expansion to Sentinels of the Multiverse Definitive Edition. This video is intended for people who may be getting in on the Kickstarter preview, people who have never played Sentinels before and just want to see what it's all about, and people like me who are looking for more Sentinels content on YouTube and haven't been able to find it. So this video is going to be mostly gameplay related. If you want to learn more about the lore, there are episodes of the Letter Page podcast listed that are dedicated to each of the characters. So those episodes are number 25, number 107, and number 137. Also, spoiler warning for those who don't want to be spoiled. Click away now. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, when working on re-implementing Chrono-Ranger for Definitive Edition, certain things were constants. First off, his character card would be focused on his pistol, but also get his bounties up and running. So let's look at this base variant here. So Chrono-Ranger, looking very nice with his poncho and his hat. His base HP is 28, and he has the power Peacemaker. Chrono-Ranger deals one target, one projectile damage. You may either play or discover one bounty card. So the one projectile damage is a little bit below curve in terms of damage for a power. So that seems like a downside, but he gets to play or discover a bounty card, which is very powerful for him, because you can either play one in your hand or get one from your deck, whichever one you get first. And discover, for those who are not aware, is you flip the top, or you flip cards off the top of your deck until you hit the card type listed, and then you reshuffle the other cards into your deck, and then you play the card that you found. And so you may be wondering, what's a bounty card? Well, we're going to get into it right now. Bounty cards, as a little preview, are basically you place them next to targets, and then Chrono-Ranger gets a bonus against those targets. So naturally he'd have bounty cards that each gave him a bonus against a particular target, but also rewards for taking that target down. So the first card here is Dead or Alive. It is an ongoing bounty card. Play this card next to a non-hero target. When damage dealt by Chrono-Ranger would reduce the target next to this card to 4 or fewer HP, either destroy or bury that target. If this card is ever not next to a target, draw 2 cards and bury this card. So all of the bounty cards have that play this card next to a non-hero target text, and that ending text of if the card is not ever next to a target, draw 2 and bury this card. The ability to destroy or bury a target that's 4 or fewer HP is actually pretty powerful, because that effectively reduces the target's HP by 4, because that's 4 HP that you don't have to deal with. The ability to bury it is also interesting, because that can get around destroy effects. So like Spite's Bystanders, for an example. This doesn't seem very thematically accurate, but for gameplay it's fine, where you're basically you could shoot the bystanders and then bury them so that their when destroyed effects don't trigger, which is really interesting actually, and gives this card a lot of utility. The next card is Kill on Sight. It is an ongoing bounty card. Play this card next to a non-hero target, plus 2 damage dealt by Chrono-Ranger to the target next to this card, and then if this card is ever not next to a target, draw 2 cards and bury this card. So, plus 2 damage is really good. Damage boosts are pretty good in Sentinels, a game mostly focused on combat a lot of the time. So that would convert his power from 1 projectile damage to 3, which is really good, and that makes it above curve. But it also makes all of his other damage plus 2. So you're just going to be outputting a lot more damage than you would otherwise. Also, with the bounty cards, if the target, basically the if this card is not next to a target phrase is basically if you defeat the target, the draw 2 cards and bury this card will trigger. That's really good because that can get you more options in your hand. More cards means more options, and burying the card means it goes back to your deck, which means with your base power you can discover that bounty card again if it's the last card in your deck. Especially if you do like a reshuffle effect of your deck, then that discover means you could potentially hit this bounty again, which is really good, and it's a really good addition that I like. So he'd also have some cool future tech that helped him hunt down his quarries. So the Mazda is an item limited card. Damage dealt with this power to targets next to bounty cards is irreducible. And then it also has a power listed on it. Chrono-Ranger deals 1 target 3 energy damage. So having another power option is always good, especially if you have somebody like Argent, Adept, or Captain Cosmic giving you extra power uses. And the damage dealt with this power to targets next to bounty cards is irreducible is also really good because that gets around the damage reduction problem that could affect your damage calculations for stuff like Dead or Alive with that 4 or fewer HP. So overall, really solid card, and the 1 target 3 energy damage is really nice too, because 3 damage is a really good damage number for a power at base. So our next card is one of the cards I'm really excited about in his deck, is Temporal Grenade. We got Ambuscade here being like frozen in time, which is really cool. It's an item limited card. It has the power Chrono-Ranger deals up to 3 targets 2 energy damage each. Destroy or bury 1 ongoing card in play, then destroy this card. It also has a reaction. Bury 1 ongoing card in play or 1-shot card that is in the process of being resolved, then destroy this card. So this card is really flexible, and it also seems very powerful, because the 3 targets 2 energy damage is always nice. Being able to hit multiple targets that you need to take out is good. The destroying or burying an ongoing card in play as a power can prove very useful, can get rid of ongoings like Spite's ongoings, or just other villain ongoings or environment ongoing cards that are messing up your plans. Burying it is also interesting, because you could just bury villain ongoing cards, which is not a very common effect. I can't think of off the top of my head any situations where that would be... Oh, actually, Grand Warlord Voss's Forced Deployment is an ongoing card that when destroyed will do a really bad effect, and it destroys itself during the start phase. So being able to bury it is a really good way to deal with the problem that card brings. You could also destroy like Setbacks ongoing cards, which doesn't seem the best unless you have like a combo set up. But that's still something you can do. Now the reaction is the main interesting part of this card. So bury an ongoing card in play also applies to stuff like Forced Deployment. But also, the one-shot card that is in the process of being resolved is very interesting, because that is effectively a counterspell effect from Magic the Gathering, where you're basically just shutting down that card as it's being resolved. Which is really interesting, and it's an effect we haven't seen yet in Definitive Edition. So, very excited for that, because could prove to be very helpful in like stopping a really bad one-shot from being played. Like an example I could think of is like, I don't remember the name of the card off the top of my head, but the card that Apex has where he deals damage to targets, and if he destroys a target he heals for H HP. cards like this could shut that down, especially if you have like Unity or Captain Cosmic heroes that have targets, because if those targets die, Apex is going to be healing for a lot of HP, and this card could just shut that down, which is really cool. And then the next section, and who can resist a bit of utility, getting things going and taking down big foes once he's up and running. So, first card in this set is Armed and Dangerous. It is an ongoing limited card. After Chrono-Ranger deals melee damage to a target, if that target had a bounty card next to it, draw one card. Otherwise, you may collect or salvage one bounty card. And it has a reaction, Chrono-Ranger deals the attacker 2 melee damage. This seems really good, because you can trigger the reaction to get in some free damage, and if you deal that melee damage to a target, if that target had a bounty, you can draw a card, which, again, drawing cards is very powerful. And otherwise, you may collect or salvage one bounty card, means that you can still target something else and get some value out of it. So you could go get a bounty card from your deck that you need, or get one from your discard that you'd used previously that you need. Which is really good. This card is also very flexible, and flexible cards tend to be good as they're applicable in more situations. Our final card in his deck that they have revealed is Fan the Hammer. It is a one-shot, discard up to 6 cards. Each time you discard a card this way, Chrono-Ranger deals 1 target, 1 projectile damage. So this is probably maybe tied for cards I'm most excited for that they've shown. If not, it's second place. So this card seems really good, especially with all the card draw that Chrono-Ranger seems to have, because you're getting 2 cards off bounties if you defeat the target next to the bounty, and then you can also get some from Armed and Dangerous, and I assume there's going to be more card draw effects in this deck, or of course your teammates can help you out. But being able to discard up to 6 cards and then dealing 1 target, 1 projectile damage seems a little innocuous. That's 1 card for 1 damage, which isn't the best rate. But this card gets kind of crazy with damage boosts because it is up to 6 separate instances of 1 damage dealt to a target. So like if you had Legacy's base damage boost, Inspiring Presence, and like Night Mist damage boost, that would be +3. So you could discard up to 6 cards to do 6 instances of 4 damage, which could potentially be 24 damage against a villain. Which is really good, and that'll take out a big chunk of most villains' health bars, or you could split that damage up to take care of most minions. That is a little bit of a specialized scenario, but it's not very hard to set up. So yeah, this card just seems very good, and I'm really excited to pull off that 24 damage in a game, potentially. Disparation also includes a number of variants for Chrono-Ranger, including his first full appearance in Sentinel comics, a different version of him from one of his wilder tales, and an alternate reality character who is not Chrono-Ranger but uses the same deck. So in one of the next updates, they did reveal the first appearance variant, which I will be showing in a second. And then I will be saving the alternate reality character for the end of campaign video, which is where those variants are revealed. So let's take a look at this first full appearance. Design extremely not final, because the set is still a little bit in development. So this version of Chrono-Ranger has 26 HP, and it has the power Khan's Orders. Either discover 1 item card or draw 3 cards. So this card seems really good for Fan the Hammer, because getting to draw 3 cards can fuel half of the maximum condition for that card. And then discovering an item card also seems really good, because you could find the Mazda, or Temporal Grenade, or whatever other items will end up being in his deck. So yeah, this also just seems like a very flexible alternate way to play variants. And I like variants that just don't change up the gameplay to a significant degree. I mean, that's always fine, but I also like these variants that make certain cards a little more effective. I always think that's really cool. So yeah, that is Chrono-Ranger. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, maybe subscribe if you want to see more, and feel free to leave a comment if you want to give your thoughts about anything relating to the video. Hope to see you all in the next one.